Bleach 1000 Year Blood War episode 43 titled Blood for My Bone is finally here, and it's time to break down and analyze how this episode compares to the manga. This episode adapts a real spread of material, primarily from chapters 666 to 668 and 674 to 675, along with backfilled content from chapters 658 and 659. When you put everything together, we roughly have 3 chapters worth of material, though as always it's completely filled with anime exclusive editions. I was surprised this week by just how much of the episode is brand new content, as Orihime receives an entire 2-minute original fight sequence against Yuhoba right at the start, and both the Ichigo and Uryu battles are once again heavily expanded with new dialogue that is directly linked between the two fights. We even get a fascinating anime original scene involving Ichibe at the Zero Division's Blood Oath Seals that expands massively on his role and intentions within the story. As we have come to expect from this final core, the anime continues to rearrange and interweave its battles in a major way, cutting between Ichigo, Uryu and the Gerard fight while pulling in content that was skipped at the end of core 3. The Visards finally get their expanded assault on Gerard, Haschwalth continues to wield his new anime original almighty form against Uryu, and the huge lore reveal surrounding the Soul King Black Reiatsu and Ichibe is given real weight. Be sure to stick around until the very end of the video because there is some major new lore revealed regarding Ichibe's true motives to install Ichigo as the next Soul King. As always, I'm going to refrain from talking about scenes which are one-to-one adaptations from the manga, and I'll solely be focusing on what has been cut, changed and added to the anime. So without further delay, here is my manga versus anime comparison for episode 43 of the 1000 Year Blood War arc anime. So the episode begins by adapting pages 1 to 2 from chapters 667. This is where Kinpachi breaks out of Mayuri's healing capsule. We then cut back to the ending of episode 42, which adapts page 6 from chapter 674. This is where Yuhoba says expand all of your power and die Ichigo. Now, this is where Orihime receives an entire 2-minute anime exclusive fight sequence against Yuhoba, which features plenty of anime original dialogue too. Orihime releases Santen Keshun to defend Ichigo, while also using Shiten Koshun that has defensive and offensive properties. Yuhoba responds by saying, the power of rejection, as Orihime states, I reject. She pushes back the Black Soul King Reiatsu with her barrier as Yuhoba counters. He states, you can't reject me completely, as he releases a wave of Black Reiatsu that overwhelms Orihime, breaking her barrier while being sent flying in the air. A wave of Black Reiatsu follows her as she summons a shield, but it's broken by Yuhoba's Reiatsu. She is then juggled in the air repeatedly as she continues to summon shields which are breaking as the Reiatsu throws her around. Yuhoba says, the same powers that flow within Ichigo flow within me, so you unconsciously accept my attacks. Orihime is taken back by Yuhoba's words as Ichigo places his hand on Orihime's shoulder, tagging back into the fight. The Black Reiatsu immediately grabs Ichigo, throwing him against the ceiling, as Orihime softens his landing with a shield, with him landing behind her. She then struggles to get up as Ichigo lays on the ground. She outstretches her arm against Yuhoba, ready to fight, with Yuhoba smiling and unleashing spiritual pressure that pushes Orihime back down to the ground. She is being forced down as she struggles to lift her head. The anime exclusive scene continues with new dialogue, with Yuhoba saying, woman, consider it an honor that a mere human like you who overstepped her bounds could even be here. She then summons her Shunshin Rika powers to heal Ichigo, as she then forms a protective barrier behind her to protect Ichigo, as she gets back up against Yuhoba saying, I won't let you hurt him, I will protect him. Ichigo looks up while laying injured, and he sees Orihime raising both hands up with a huge shield above her. As she states, and that is why, with both of her hands and arms that are outstretched behind the barrier, they end up getting multiple cuts with her bleeding, as she yells out, I reject. Tsubaki releases from her hairpin as he pushes against Orihime's barrier above her head. The barrier forms a point where Tsubaki is pushing against, which is targeting Yhwach. A huge gust of energy is released at the Quincy Emperor and he tanks the attack. But despite this, he is watching her very intrigued. Orihime firmly stands there in defiance. Ichigo then gets up and fires a Getsuga Tensho at Yhwach with his golden crescent-shaped Reiatsu clashing with Yhwach's black Reiatsu as he effortlessly negates Ichigo's attack. Ichigo then points his blade at Yhwach saying, "I will kill you." But the Emperor responds, "Such hubris, Ichigo, to do that would be the same as killing the world." With this particular anime exclusive scene ending with Yhwach stating, "For I've already become the world itself." We then cut to Haschwalth vs Uryu continuing with their anime exclusive scenes and dialogue after Yhwach's ominous words to Ichigo. The camera pans up to Uryu in his Volstandig staring at Haschwalth in his new almighty Soul King Reiatsu form, as he says to Uryu, "While I possess his majesty's power, I can wield them as I please. This is the power that I hold as his other half." He sways his blade to the side, readying it as black Reiatsu completely covers the blade. He adds, "Uryu Ishida, if you did indeed survive His Majesty's Haschwalth, then prove it once more by surviving my powers." The black Reiatsu releases out from his sword, completely surrounding Haschwalth as Uryu uses his arrows to fire lasers at it, but the black Reiatsu begins to chase Uryu, who flees from it, while at the same time countering with the lasers from his arrows. The arrows then transform into a shaped prism surrounding Uryu, protecting him from the Reiatsu. Haschwalth, with his arms outstretched, releases the Reiatsu, walking forward as he states, "Your fight has been a contradiction from the very beginning." He explains, "You should have seen that already. You know just how fragile the balance of this world is." Uryu emerges from his protective prism as he fires continuous beams of Reiatsu at Haschwalth, who continues walking forward and adds to his dialogue by saying, "And how easily it can be shaken. Killing His Majesty, who has become one with the Soul King, would condemn this world to its end." He points his black Reiatsu covered blade at Uryu while the beams continue to fire at him. Before Uryu reforms the protective prism and Haschwalth fires off more black Reiatsu at Uryu, Uryu reforms the protective prism as Haschwalth fires off more black Reiatsu at him. Within the Reiatsu, we see blue pupils of the Almighty as they charge towards Uryu to attack. The Reiatsu throws around Uryu's prism, hurtling it against the surroundings. The Reiatsu then forms multiple spiked points that penetrate the prism, cracking it as more Reiatsu appear surrounding and crushing the prism. We then see Uryu's body pierced by the black Reiatsu as he is held in place, coughing up blood from the attack. Haschwalth withdraws the Reiatsu as Uryu collapses to the ground. Haschwalth watches him, stating, "How pathetic." Uryu lifts himself up to his knees and smiles. Haschwalth's eye flinches at the sight as Uryu gets back up holding his bloodied and injured arm that appears to have the black Reiatsu embedded into it as he says, "If we defeat Yhwach, the world will crumble. I'm completely aware of that." Uryu pulls the black Reiatsu off of his injured arm and crushes it in his hand, but asks then why, as Uryu states, "But Kurosaki might say this." As we then cut back to an anime exclusive Ichigo vs Yhwach scene with new dialogue that continues by finishing Uryu's sentence as Ichigo states, "I'm still going to take you down." This next scene is 30 seconds of new dialogue between Ichigo and Yhwach, as Ichigo says, "I know the people who have always protected this world." We cut to scenes of the Serete and the Soul Society as we see Shino and Ryunosuke back to back while Ichigo is speaking. Ichigo says, "You are trampling on the very thing they want to protect." We then cut to an oversized Gerard Valkyrie with Rukia and Renji collapsed in the rubble while Ichigo is speaking. He continues, "There are countless lives I want to protect." Both Rukia and Renji are lying injured, but their hands are still grasping their swords and slightly tensing, showing that they are still conscious. Ichigo tells him, "I want to protect their feelings and all that they hold dear." Ichigo swipes one of his blades horizontally in front of Yhwach as Golden Reishi appears, as he exclaims, "If that means destroying the world, then so be it, here I come." Ichigo then raises his other blade up and cuts down across the horizontal line of Golden Reishi while yelling, "Getsuga Jujisho." We return to Haschwalth vs Uryu as it seems like the dialogue between them is linked to the dialogue between Yhwach vs Ichigo. Uryu is kneeling with an injured arm as Haschwalth says, "Have you realized it yet?" Even if you people can win against His Majesty now that the Soul King is gone, do you realize what will be necessary to preserve the world as you know it? Now this is where we get the critical lore reveal, as we have a 3-minute anime exclusive scene, which interlinks Ichigo vs Yhwach and Haschwalth vs Uryu's joint dialogue, as we get a 3-minute anime exclusive scene with back-to-back dialogue between Ichigo vs Yhwach and Haschwalth vs Uryu. Right after Haschwalth's words, we return to Ichigo vs Yhwach as Ichigo's Getsuga Jujisho is trapped in place by Yhwach's Black Reiatsu. Orihime says even that didn't work, as Yhwach explains, "Ichigo, my son born in the darkness, you might be ignorant, but you understand everything instinctually, and because you understand everything, you hesitate to take me down." Orihime looks at Ichigo as Yhwach's Black Reiatsu neutralizes the Getsuga Jujisho, making it disappear. Yhwach then continues as he states, "Ichibe Yosabe." We are then shown ominous imagery of Ichibe in front of the Zero Division's Blood Oath seals. The circles are blank but the candles are lit, as Ichibe is using his Shikai to draw circles above his head. Yhwach continues to speak while we see these visuals. He explains everything is happening exactly according to his plan. He took you in, Ichigo Kurosaki, and gave you the Soul King's memories and explained everything. We zoom into the black circle Ichibe drew as the ink transforms into an animal. Yhwach reveals that Ichibe did it to judge whether if Ichigo Kurosaki was worthy of existence. We are shown the throne room as the Black Reiatsu wipes away to reveal Yhwach's face, with him continuing, "You are a miracle. You are human, Shinigami, Hollow, Fullbringer, and Quincy. You likely never thought about the true essence of your powers. Why do you clad yourself in black?" We then cut to the battle between Haschwalth vs Uryu as Haschwalth continues Yhwach's line of thought, which he speaks to Uryu. Black is the color of chaos. Chaos is the power of the Soul King. Black, the color without color, is nothing less than the Soul King's spiritual pressure. While Haschwalth continues speaking, we are shown Ichibe again with the animal made from his ink gliding towards Ichibe as he raises up a bowl. Haschwalth states, "And the one who controls that black is Ichibe Yosabe." While we stay on these visuals of Ichibe, Yhwach speaks, saying, "I'm sure he said to you, protect the Soul King." The Ichibe visuals are then shown with nobody else speaking over them, as the animal he created with his ink appears to be a black salamander with glowing eyes crawling up Ichibe while he repeatedly apologizes to himself. He says, "I'm sorry, so sorry." The salamander goes into his bowl and dissolves into black liquid as black vibrations emanate from the bowl before they settle. Ichibe begins to drink the dark liquid within the bowl as we then see flashbacks of Ichibe with dialogue that he spoke from earlier in the 1000-Year Blood War arc. He says, "You're the only one being taken for a different reason." This is in reference to Ichigo going to the royal palace from Core 1. Then Ichibe, when he says, "Are you a vessel capable of withstanding the power that fills it, or are you a bowl that shatters?" This is when he speaks to Ichigo during his Irazu Sando training from Core 2. Ichibe then says, "I was able to receive a tiny bit of your power to restore my body." This is when he recovers after Ichigo says his name from Core 3. And then we have Ichibe's final words that he spoke to Ichigo, "Please protect the Soul King." We then return to present day Yhwach as he continues speaking. He tells Ichigo, "I will tell you his true intent." We see Ichibe standing in front of the Blood Oath seals after drinking the liquid while Yhwach speaks. Shocking lore from Can't For Your Own World is revealed within this week's episode as Yhwach states Ichibe Yosabe intended to install you as the next Soul King. Orihime exclaims, "No way," as Yhwach adds he was going to make you a figurehead whose only purpose is to preserve the three worlds, so a world with Shinigami as the pinnacle would be maintained. That is Ichibe Yosabe's vision of peace. For you, it may as well be death. Ichigo responds by saying, "So what?" as we immediately cut to Uryu vs Haschwalth, as it seems like Haschwalth just delivered the same line of dialogue to Uryu, who also responds with a "so what?" Haschwalth is puzzled, stating what, as Uryu explains it's just "I figured that's what Kurosaki would say." We return to Ichigo vs Yhwach as Ichigo continues saying, "Why does it matter if I become the Soul King or not?" Ichigo charges at Yhwach ready to strike again as the Black Reiatsu releases from Yhwach towards him while Ichigo is running. He states, "What I know right now is," Orihime summons a shield for Ichigo that appears in front of him, as Ichigo finishes his sentence, "Unless I take you down, I'll have nothing to protect Yuhoba." Ichigo pushes through the black Reiatsu, jumping in the air ready to strike Yuhoba from above, as the swing of his sword coming down cuts the left shoulder of Yuhoba, as it transitions us to the episode title card "Blood for My Bone," as we then cut to the episode mid-card. This week's mid-card is on Haschwalth, as it states, "entrusted with the almighty omniscience omnipotence." He is given the almighty by the slumbering Yuhoba. Haschwalth here unleashes that power and becomes his vessel or substitute. Yuhoba's power, overflowing from his eyeball, envelops his body and transforms even his appearance. That immense power reaches as far as his mind, so much so that he comes to show a belligerent attitude and manner of speech unimaginable from his usual calm, composed self. So this highlights that the power of the Almighty is corrupting. And this is really interesting information revealed within the mid-card of this week's episode. The second half of the episode begins by adapting content from chapter 658, as pages 8 to 13 are adapted. But the Hiyori and Hachi dialogue from page 8 of the chapter is changed. So in the manga, Hiyori says, "What the hell is that monster? He's taken everyone down." Hachi explains, "Don't ask me, I wouldn't know." In the anime, Hiyori says, "What the hell is that monster? He's so strong, he made you pee your pants a little, Hachi." Hachi explains, "I haven't peed my pants." Again, a small inconsequential change of dialogue. In the manga, Hachi, Love, and Lisa use their Shikai to attack Gerard. In the anime, the Visard's assault on Gerard is expanded with an anime-exclusive Visard vs Gerard scene. Now this anime-exclusive expansion is only a minute long, but it expands upon pages 13 to 15 of chapter 658, where in the manga only Hachi, Love, and Lisa strike Gerard with their Shikai. As he swats them away effortlessly, the anime expands upon this by allowing Shinji to also be involved, as he activates his Shikai too, inverting Gerard's senses. He stabs Gerard in the back of the neck as he yells in pain. Hiyori watches as she calls the other Visards to join the attack. Rose, Kensei, and Mashiro attack Gerard, then the fight plays out with Hachi, Love, and Lisa doing what they did in the manga. A massive explosion erupts as we get an anime-exclusive group shot of the Visards with their hollow masks donned, as they fire a different coloured Sero each, as the multiple colours combine to attack Gerard's face. But Gerard doesn't feel the attack, as he charges at them with a clothesline that takes them out, thus ending the 1-minute anime-exclusive expansion of the Visards vs Gerard. Immediately after this, pages 15 to 17 of chapter 658 are adapted, as Hitsugaya finally arrives to confront Gerard. We continue with the material that was left off from Core 3, as pages 1 to 6 of chapter 659 are adapted, as we see a brief exchange between Hitsugaya vs Gerard. After this, we get 1 minute of anime-exclusive fight sequences and dialogue between Ichigo vs Yuhoba. Following Ichigo's attack where he cuts down the shoulder of Yuhoba, it ends up healing as the Black Reiatsu joins it back together. Yuhoba says, "I see, what a childish answer." He then sends multiple waves of Black Reiatsu to strike Ichigo, sending him flying and pinning him against a wall, as Orihime reacts by saying "Kurosaki." Yuhoba states, "So it falls on the father to correct the child's error, I suppose." Ichigo rushes out of the cloud of smoke, charging at Yuhoba, swinging down. As Yuhoba raises a wall of Black Reiatsu to protect himself, Ichigo darts to the right, evading the waves of Black Reiatsu as he tries to strike Yuhoba at close range, but he is pushed back and slammed into the ceiling. Ichigo breaks free and charges again from above, cutting down at Yuhoba, who stands there smugly blocking his attacks with the Black Reiatsu. Orihime reacts after Ichigo strikes Yuhoba from above again, releasing an intense gust of air across the throne room. As she says, "He's so fast." She watches Ichigo dart around Yuhoba, striking multiple times but being countered by the Black Reiatsu. Orihime explains, "I can't follow Kurosaki's movements." Ichigo is then thrown through multiple pillars by the Black Reiatsu that attacks him, as he is now sent rolling across the floor, before he quickly regains his footing and rushes back. Now Yuhoba has created dislike swirls of Black Reiatsu that he is firing at Ichigo rapidly, while Ichigo is charging towards him. Ichigo begins to cut away at the swirls rapidly, but he is getting overwhelmed as he blocks with his blades and is being pushed back at the same time. He ends up firing a crescent-shaped wave of Reishi to push the Black Reiatsu back, as he gets a moment to get ready and charge forward again, as the anime scene transitions back to content from the manga after a lengthy 1-minute anime exclusive fight sequence. Now the moment where Orihime grabs Ichigo, telling him to calm down for a second, is adapted from pages 5 to 17 from chapter 675. During this adapted material, we do get some expanded scenes and some new dialogue. Yuba says you never had a chance to begin with, which is added to material from page 10 of chapter 675. Then we get a 10-second anime expanded scene, which further expands upon page 10 of chapter 675, where Ichigo is pushed back and is trapped by the Black Reiatsu. He raises his sword up and cuts down the Reiatsu, breaking free. We see him clash with multiple bursts of Reiatsu striking him before he lands to the ground, ending the expanded scene. Then we have a cut from page 12 of chapter 675 in the manga. When Yuba is about to strike Ichigo, he yells out to Orihime to pull up a shield. In the anime, this panel of Ichigo yelling is cut, as Orihime, without even being asked, summons a shield to protect Ichigo. I feel like this is a great omission, as it adds further agency to Orihime's character. Then the rest of the chapter from page 13 to 17 is faithfully adapted. So from where Ichigo thanks Orihime for putting up a shield, right to the end where Ichigo finally unveils his Horn of Salvation form. We then cut to the battle against Gerard Valkyrie, as pages 13 to 17 of chapter 666 are adapted. So this is everything from where Gerard breaks free from Hitsugaya's ice, all the way through to the end of the chapter where Kinpachi arrives and Hitsugaya and Byakuya say here comes trouble. Hitsugaya does get one line of new dialogue here which expands upon the manga content, as he says, okay, now for the finishing move. And then page 15 is expanded with further anime exclusive dialogue where Byakuya says in the anime, I don't like the miracle, but it's powerful. Then pages 4 to 17 of chapter 667 are adapted as Kinpachi vs Gerard begins. Now notably, pages 2 to 3 are cut from this chapter. This is where Ikkaku and Yumichika arrive to see Kinpachi got to the battlefield before them. So the content that's adapted here is where Kinpachi cuts off Gerard's arm here, all the way through to the end where Kinpachi nicks Hoffnung and ends up being cut across his abdomen. While in the manga, only Kinpachi is cut across the abdomen when Hoffnung is chipped, in the anime this gets a bit of expansion. As Gerard is about to cut down Kinpachi, Byakuya and Hitsugaya both attack Gerard in a combined attack. This creates 2 further chips on Hoffnung, as it results in both Hitsugaya and Byakuya also being cut across the abdomen too, as this anime only scene changes the flow of the fight slightly with this addition. Gerard then gets a new line of dialogue in the anime as he says, do you wish that badly for despair? And the episode ends by adapting pages 1 to 2 of chapter 668. Page 2 in particular has expansion by having anime exclusive dialogue from Gerard as he states, I am Gerard Valkyrie, I am a miracle, and miracles are what I am. So we end with Gerard laughing as we cut to Hitsugaya looking up as one more of his ice petals melt away, as 2 have melted out of the 12 behind him. Surprisingly, we have already covered just under 9 chapters worth of manga content within the first 3 episodes of Core 4. Some of the adapted material was left over from Core 3, like Hitsugaya arriving to confront Gerard and the Visards vs Gerard. This is from chapters 658 and 659. We started out Core 4 with 25.5 chapters left to adapt, and now with the end of episode 43, there is just under 17 chapters worth of content remaining for the rest of the core. This is all but guaranteeing that the back half of Core 4 is going to lean heavily on anime original expansion. So while we have received a generous amount of anime original content so far, I feel like this is still only a small taste of what is yet to come. This week's episode was easily the most anime original heavy of the core so far, and the standout for me has to be everything surrounding Ichibe. That scene of him at the Blood Oath Seals, drawing the black salamander and drinking it down while apologizing to himself was haunting. And then you pair it with Yuhaba's revelation that Ichibe planned to install Ichigo as the next Soul King. It adds so much depth to a plot thread that the manga barely touched upon. This is stuff from the Can't For Your Own World light novels that was revealed during an exchange between Ichibe and Shunsui. Now on top of this, the interlinked dialogue between Ichigo and Uryu's fights was brilliantly done, with both of them landing that same so what response to the idea of the world crumbling. It was amazing. Orihime's expanded fight was another massive highlight for me, as was the anime finally giving the Visards their proper moment against Gerard, even if the end result was the same. Looking ahead to next week, with this episode ending on Ichigo having revealed his Horn of Salvation form and Gerard's fight really heating up as another one of Hitsugaya's ice petals melts away, I totally expect the anime to push deeper into the Gerard battle and continue escalating Ichigo's clash against Yhwach. Given just how much this core loves to rearrange its events, I'm very curious to see which threads they choose to focus on next, and just how much more original content they will include for us. So what were your thoughts on this week's episode of Bleach? Did you enjoy the huge lore reveal surrounding Ichibe and the Black Reiatsu? What did you make of the interlinked dialogue between the Ichigo and Uryu battles? Were you a fan of Orihime's expanded fight sequences against Yhwach? And were you a fan of the expanded scenes featuring the Visards? I look forward to reading all of your comments. If you have been enjoying these breakdowns and want to keep up with everything this final core has to offer, then please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon for regular Bleach content. Lastly, thanks for making it to the end of this one, and I cannot wait to see you for my breakdown and analysis of next week's all new Bleach 1000 Year Blood War anime episode.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.